Good morning, everybody. Today I'm going to give you a review on a primitive bow drill kit that was sent to me by Primitive Fire. They wanted me to give you a review, so I'm going to give you an honest review. This is not an unboxing review. I'm going to show you actually how to use this thing. And I'm out with a class this weekend, and I'm going to have them use this bow drill so you can see what it's like for a beginner to use the bow drill. All right, so the Primitive Fire bow drill kit, it's a starter bow drill kit. If you are experienced, done a bow drill, are successful with a bow drill, this is probably not the bow drill kit for you. But if you're a beginner, you've never done one before, you're having problems with your technique, not able to get a coal, this kit might help you out really so you can figure out your technique and not worry about making the components. So I'm going to go over the components real quick that they send you in this kit. First of all, we'll talk about the instructions. It does come with some instructions and how to use the kit. Gives you a couple pictures, how to create your bird's nest and burning in a new hole, because it does come pre-burned in for you. If you've never done a bow drill kit before, or a bow drill, the instructions might be a little bit difficult to follow. I've done plenty, so they make sense to me. But they do have a instructional video, which I have not looked at. If you follow their website, and I'll put it in the comments below, or the information below, you can check out that instructional video, and it'll probably show you how to actually use it, which is probably far better than trying to read the instructions. But the instructions aren't bad, they're just difficult to follow maybe if you've never done this before. Okay, so when I received the kit, the first thing I noticed, which is not necessarily bad, but this is the bow that they send you. Nothing really wrong with it for most people, I suppose. But this is their bow, and this is my bow that I created out in the wild. As you can see, there's a significant length difference. For a taller person, I'm 6 foot tall, this bow might be too short. But for, if you want to get your kids going on this bow might be all right. If I were to be using natural cordage, not paracord, my bow would probably be this long because I have to use it differently. But for techniques, this is probably okay. Typically what you're going to do, if you're creating your own bow, you're going to go from armpit to fingertip. And as you can see, this is significantly shorter. That's so you can get a full draw on your bow. This kind of limits you a little bit. But I'm going to use it and we'll see how well it works. So there's the difference on bows. Also, paracord stretches. I don't know if this has been pre-stretched. So eventually you're going to have to retie these knots if this does stretch, which means you're going to have to either take this beast apart or take this apart, which is probably a little bit easier, and then refashion it. We won't go into how I tie my knots, because it's not a review on my bow drill, it's a review on theirs. Okay, secondly, probably a pretty important piece that a lot of people don't give a lot of credit to is the bearing block. This appears to be made out of clay, and they've glazed the inside. This is where your spindle, the top of your spindle sits in, it spins around. This is nice and smooth, which is pretty important. Feels like it does have some imperfections in there, but it shouldn't be a big deal as long as it glides in there pretty nice. If you didn't have this, you would have to fashion something out of wood, which is far inferior to a stone bearing block. You'd have to buy maybe an SA fire steel, which costs you about 55 bucks. I think this kit costs about 35 bucks. This is something we fashioned for the students to use. It's just a regular stone. Use a drill bit to hollow that out. So you could make this yourself, but they make it for you. Let's see. So the bearing block, it's nice and big. for larger hands, but you could use it with smaller hands too. So that's a good piece. They send you 2 spindles. Typically when I'm making a spindle, I make it about thumb width. This is a little bit more narrow than I would normally make, but there's no problem with it. This would probably work just fine. We'll see when we use it later. This one's pre-burned in. I'm not sure what kind of wood it is, but it's pretty solid wood. It just barely passes the fingernail test. I usually, with my fingernail, if I can push in on it and I can see marks, I don't know if you can see those marks right there, but that means the wood is soft enough to use or easy enough to use. You can make a coal with oak, but it's going to be really difficult. Normally you're going to use something a little bit softer. I'm guessing this is probably cottonwood, but this should work. Then there's the fireboard or the hearth board. They pre-burn in a hole for you. Now it's going to be very important to follow the instructions, because when you're first making a fire, you need to burn in this hole before you carve this notch. So they've done the notch and the hole for you, so you know where you can get your first bit of practice in. Something I did notice about that first burn in, you can see sorry, not the burn in, but the notch. You can see that notch goes all the way to the center of the hole. When I'm making my notches out in the wild, I don't go all the way to the center. I go just shy of it, probably about halfway from the edge to the center. That way it gives you more life on that hole. So their cut in might be a little bit too far, but the thickness of their board shouldn't make it matter too much. But I know when I make my next notch, after I burn in my own hole, I'm not going to go as deep. But that thickness is good. This wood passed the fingernail test. So it's a nice solid piece of wood. It's going to be flat, be easier to hold down on the ground. They send you an ember pan. This is a leather ember pan. In the wild, you would use a leaf, a hunk of bark, a piece of wood, something thin. That way when you're bowing on that board, the ember will fall down on here. This is a pretty important piece. The nice thing about leather is it won't burn up as fast as, say, a leaf. And then they also send you some jute twine, so you would unravel this and make a bird's nest. In the wild, you would use grass or tree bark or something that you can break down dry and make a nest. So you transfer your coal from that board into this nest. And the instructions do tell you about that. But that's the kit to start. The items that they put in the kit. I am going to show you how to use this, and actually even better, I'm going to give it to students and have them use it. The students I have out here with me are beginners. I believe none of them have made a bow drill fire before, so this will be the ultimate test on how well this starter kit will do for beginners. I'm pretty confident that I will be able to get a bow, an ember, a fire started pretty easily with this kit. The length of the bow might slow me down a little bit because I like that nice long draw. But we'll give it a shot, let you see how well it works for beginners, and you can make your own decision. I'll get back to you soon. So we got smoke. Looks like we got good dust building up. You want to fill that notch. Okay, so there was the primitive fire bow drill kit. As you can see, my beginner student was able to get a coal off of it, but we had practiced on our self-made bow drill kit for a while, so she learned a little bit of the technique before practicing on that board or going on that board. It's important to know technique, and really you should practice technique before you try in some of the harder woods, more difficult woods to get a bow drill fire amber off of, and that's what we have out here out at our survival school, is more difficult woods. So with those easier woods, I don't know what wood comes in that primitive fire bow drill kit, but she was able to successfully get a coal. So for a beginner, absolutely a good bow drill starter kit, and then you could use that to advance on to making your own and figure out what you need to do should you be out in the wilderness without a kit on you to make your own. But great way to refine your technique.